Hello again. I've had many emails from people, and comments are often made here as well, to the effect that I try to create the impression that antisocial behaviour and crime always involves foreigners and members of visible minorities. Surely, even before large-scale immigration to this country, there were street fights, riots and murders. Didn't white British people ever take part in such things? This is a fair point and worth considering. One thing I will point out is that although white British youths, to give one example, certainly ran amok from time to time, their antisocial behaviour and aggression was of a wholly different type to that which we see today among some young people from minority communities. The thumbnail to this video shows a bunch of young people outside the Ilford Palais, a dance hall in the London borough of Redbridge, which I myself frequented many years ago. The picture was taken around 1970, and the first thing we notice is that these youths are all white, every single one of them. In those days, Ilford was really a completely white district. Anybody visiting the town today will soon see the difference. Did these young people get up to mischief? They did, although it was of a completely different nature to the things that we see today. They might well have fought each other after the pubs kicked out, for instance, but such fights were limited to fists and boots. The use of knives was quite unknown, and guns were only used by bank robbers. The following day there would be no murder victims, just a few black eyes perhaps. The situation today in Ilford is very different, and a quick Google search will soon show murders which have taken place in the streets there, either by knives or guns. These are always carried out by members of ethnic minorities and would have been unheard of before Ilford became dominated by these groups, rather than being a homogeneously white area. Even when gangs of youths did clash violently, nobody was ever killed. One thinks of the mods and rockers fighting at seaside towns in the early 1960s. The worst thing that happened there was that they threw deck chairs at each other. That was the most dangerous weapon they had, deck chairs. Serious rioting in Britain after the Second World War began only in areas with many immigrants. The progression of this disorder and the way it became a feature of British life can easily be charted. It began with the Notting Hill Carnival riot in 1976, the first real riot in Britain for a century or so. And then the following year there was a riot in Lewisham, where petrol bombs were thrown. In 1979, Southall. 1980, the St Paul's area of Bristol. 1981, Brixton. 1985, Tottenham, and so on. Civil disorder, like murders in the streets by means of knives and guns, only arrived with immigration from Asia and the Caribbean. The violence and disorder which we witness today on the streets of Britain is inextricably linked with immigration, as is the terrorism which we have seen in recent years. I say nothing at all as to the reasons why certain communities carry on in this way, but I'm afraid that all the shooting and stabbing, the setting off of bombs and rioting, they're all imported. However rowdy white British youths might have become in the aftermath of football matches or when the pubs kicked out on a Saturday night, they didn't shoot each other or throw petrol bombs. This, then, is why I focus upon such crimes as carried out by foreigners or those from families whose heritage lies outside Britain. It is because certain types in those communities are responsible for almost all the riots, bombings, shootings, stabbings and grooming gangs. That's not my doing, that's simply the way that it is.